Welcome to the Vandal Insider Podcast, presented by Inland Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine Clinic of Moscow and Pullman. Let the team that takes care of the Vandals take care of you. Get the latest information on University of Idaho athletics you won't find anywhere else. It's all here on the Vandal Insider Podcast, every fan source for all things Idaho athletics. Here's your host, Dennis Patchin.
Welcome to another episode of the Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast. Coming up on this week's edition, we'll talk with Vandals head coach Thomas Ford Jr. about the win over Utah Tech and looking forward to the final non-conference game on Saturday against San Jose State. Art Williams will also join us to talk about his career day in the Dome and the game with the Spartans coming up. It's never too soon to talk basketball. We'll be joined by both head coaches, Alex Pribble from the men's team, Arthur Moreira from the women's team, as we get an update on this season. And we'll talk with Dani Linehan, the Vandals' Associate Athletic Director for Student Athlete Support Services, and all that entails. It was a great way to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Kibbie Dome as Idaho improved to 2-1 on Saturday with a 20-6 win over Utah Tech. For head coach Thomas Ford Jr., it was a great day to be a Vandal.
Awesome weekend. You know, it was a great way to celebrate the 50th year anniversary of the Kibbie Dome. I thought our players played extremely well against a fiery and very good Utah Tech team.
Running back Art Williams had a career day with 144 yards on the ground.
Hand is straight ahead to Williams, broken tackle. Now it's a foot race. He's to the outside of the numbers, to the 50, down to the 40-yard line, down to the 30, and he's pushed out of bounds at the 20-yard line. Art Williams, the longest play of the season for the Idaho Vandals, and he's down at the 20-yard line. A 68-yard run right up the A-gap.
He led Idaho to almost 300 yards in rushing. The defense was good, too, for the Vandals. Utah Tech never found the end zone. They never found the red zone.
Kraft throws it towards the end zone. It is intercepted. It is picked off by Aaron Kinsey. The first Idaho Vandal interception of the season.
For Ford, there was a whole lot to like about this victory.
Obviously, our offensive line playing at a very high level right now. Over 286 yards rushing, almost 300 yards rushing. You know, Art Williams had a career day with 144 yards rushing, averaging 9.2 yards per carry. And, our defense played exceptionally well. Held those guys to 98 yards rushing, and now currently 22nd in the nation in total defense, first in the Big Sky.
And he says right now the offensive line is playing as well as any group in the Big Sky Conference.
Well, I think they're a very cohesive unit, and we've got great depth. I mean, we've got probably 8 or 9 players that really could start anywhere in this league. And so anytime you have competition, you stay healthy, and you have a bunch of hungry guys, I think you can have success up front.
But the Vandals are not a finished product, and Ford says there is one area of his team that has to improve.
Special teams. We got to get better at special teams. Had a couple of missed field goals. Anytime you have 14 play drives and come away with 0 points, that's unacceptable. I mean, we had a 68-yard run that got us to the 20. We came away with 0 points. So I think we've got some answers. Oren Forsman stepped up and hit 2 big ones, hit a 49-yarder that probably would have been good from 60. So I know that there's still some competition there with the actual specialists. And then, our punt return teams definitely got to get better. Felt like we didn't have the cohesion we need, had a muff punt. They converted on a fake punt. So I think special teams is an area that's got to continue to improve. And obviously we got to get better on offense and defense too, but probably special teams was more glaring this week than anything else.
Ford feels improvement comes from just one thing and feels his team is really starting to figure that area of the game out.
Just being consistent. You kind of saw the last 2 weeks where I think my group didn't necessarily prepare as well as they should have in week 2 and then really prepared well in week 3. And I think they saw the process working. When you trust the process and you actually are an active member of the process, you can have a lot of success. So I think really understanding that this truly is a day-by-day sport. I mean, you're judged by what you do every day, and I think those guys are taking that to heart and really getting after it daily and trying to win the day.
The Vandals will need everything working on Saturday against San Jose State, an FBS team. The Spartans might be 0-2, but Ford says Don't let the record fool you.
I think they got a defense that plays really hard. I think their defensive line is really good. They play with great motors. They're physical. So I think that matchup, our O-line with their D-line will be one to watch. And then they throw it. I mean, they spread it around and chuck it. And they've had a lot of success with this offense over the last few years. And I think we've got a challenge for us just in the secondary. We know we've got to be able to get pressure on the quarterback, but obviously do a great job in coverage and mix coverages up. Make it hard for their quarterback because he's a veteran guy.
And there's no doubt in Thomas Ford Jr.'s mind that his team will be ready and will be ready for the challenge.
Whenever our kids get a chance to play FBS opponents, it just gives them an opportunity to show, like, hey, they could have played at the FBS level. Or so some of our guys that have played at the FBS level and transferred here, they want to go win. They don't look at it as like, oh, we get to play up, let's go compete. Like, they want to go win. And I think that really plays to the advantage of us because we kind of have an underdog mentality. That's just kind of the culture of this program, but you truly are an underdog in these games when you go play at FBS school, and so it just gives our guys a true opportunity and a measuring stick. And when you play a really good opponent like FBS San Jose State, I think it's even more of a challenge, and I think the guys get up for the games even more.
This Idaho Vandal Insider podcast is presented by Inland Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine Clinic of Moscow and Pullman. As the Vandals team physician, orthopedic surgeon Dr. Matt Taylor cares for elite athletes, weekend warriors, and everyone in between. Let the team that takes care of the Vandals take care of you. Welcome back to the Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast. We are now joined by Idaho Vandal running back Art Williams. Thanks for being here. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you being here. What's it like to run for 144 yards in a college game?
It's pretty cool. A lot harder to do than in high school, but yeah, it feels awesome.
What's the most yards you ran for in high school? Did you have a 200-yard game?
I didn't. I think maybe like 160, 170. I didn't have a 200-yard game in high school.
Okay, so what you did at the college level was almost equal to what you did at your best game as a high school level.
Right.
Wow. Well, tell me about the long run. It looked like the hole was big enough to drive a truck through.
Dude, it was awesome. It just opened up quick, and I tried to hit it as fast as I could. O-line did a great job opening it up for me. So. But
tell me about now you're weaving your way and you're bouncing to the outside and what's going through your head. Were you looking up on the video board to see if there was anybody catching you?
No, I had peeked behind me real quick to see if there was anybody right behind me, but no, I didn't. I should have looked at the video board. I saw the safety come in, and I knew it was going to be a race. I kind of took a crappy angle on it. Coach got on me for that, but now I know.
Okay, it's a learning lesson, right?
Yeah.
It's a video board. I've heard that from guys. Pro tip: if you're running towards the video board, take a quick peek up because then you don't have to turn your head around at that point in time.
Yep.
What's it like? I mean, going into this season, you've got Nate Thomas. You've got Eli Cummings. You've got yourself. What was the thought process for you? Like, how many snaps do I think I'm going to get? How are you walking through yourself in your own mind of what your production was going to be with this team?
I never really thought about it like that. I was just come to work every day, work as hard as I can. I know Nate and Eli are great backs too, so just get to strong as fast as I can, and whatever I can offer, that was what I was going to do.
How different of an athlete are you from the time you walked on campus?
Oh, gosh. It's like I was talking to somebody about it on the team the other day. It's like a night and day difference. Like, you wouldn't even – like, physically, I haven't gained a whole lot of weight, but just, like, turning a lot of fat into muscle. And then the biggest part was probably like the mental aspect of it. Just my football IQ shot through the roof just in the first year with Coach Ford when he was the running backs coach. So
what made that happen? Was it just you were so much better than the guys in high school? You really didn't have to think. You just did. But now it's not that.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, high school is just not nearly as complicated. You could just say this is a run play and you get the ball and run. So.
We're going to hand it to that guy over there. He's going to run that way and see if you can stop him.
Right.
When do you start feeling like Saturday you had a big part in that game? When you woke up Sunday morning, what was the body like? How were you feeling?
I was hurting.
Okay.
just super sore, but it's all worth it at the end of the day.
How do you get feeling better? What do you do to make yourself get ready for the next game when you don't feel like, I'm banged up a little bit here? How does that play out for you?
Just going in, taking treatment seriously. We practice on Sundays, have a lift and practice, so that actually helps a lot. Like it sucks in the moment having to be up and move around, but Coach Coop does a great job of getting us moving around and getting all the lactic acid out and just flushing out all the bad stuff to get into the week.
When you wake up in the morning after a physical game, how long does it take you to actually get out of bed?
Shoot.
Minute or two?
Yeah, longer than it usually does. You just kind of lay there and gather.
Well,
gather yourself.
You're 21. You should be able to just jump right out of bed, right? If you didn't get hit by a truck the night before playing a football game.
Right, that is true.
Now you're an Idaho guy.
Yeah.
You grew up in the state. You played high school football in southern Idaho. How did you wind up here?
So it would have been the summer going into my senior year, kind of under-recruited, not talking to a whole lot of schools. There was a showcase down in the Treasure Valley, and Coach Eck and a couple other coaches were there, and they saw me, and I did pretty good at the showcase, and then they invited me up here to come to their prospect camp. So I came up, did a bunch of drills with Coach Ford, had a great camp. I think I won MVP or something for running back, and then they ended up offering me after the camp.
Did you think when you got recruited here that you were going to be a running back, or was there a thought you might change positions?
No, there was a lot of talk. A lot of my coaches told me in high school that I probably wouldn't play running back in college. They told me I'd be more of like a nickel linebacker type. But yeah, I'm just happy I was able to stay with the position I like.
Did you play defense in high school?
For 1 year, yeah, my senior year, I played a little bit of linebacker.
Yeah. So the fact that you look around and see guys at other positions, Matt Irwin was a high school quarterback
right.
that you probably played against, and now he's on a safety. Are you happy you're at running back?
I am. Yeah, I wouldn't rather be playing any other position.
What's it like to score a touchdown? Something that a lot of people never get to do.
It's amazing. Like you get in and it's just the best feeling in the world. I almost black out. Like I don't even know what's going on. I just start going crazy with my guys. So yeah, it's awesome.
Have you ever looked back at a tape and gone, oh, why? Because you had a touchdown earlier this season.
Right.
Why did I do that?
I just looked way too excited.
Okay, so now Art Williams' next touchdown, he's going to be trying to be cooler, right?
Right. Yep.
If you could spike the football, would you?
Probably not. I'd probably give it to one of the linemen and let them spike it.
Well, I wouldn't give it to Nate because he would probably spike it and flatten the ball. So when you go into the weight room and do your work, are you amazed at what some of those big guys are doing?
Yeah, it's insane. It's like Zoe, some of the weight he does, it's just unreal. Like I couldn't even imagine having that much weight on the bar.
You shake Nate Asparty's hand, and there's on the bottom you got a little bit of soft down here. It's like rocks. It's like shaking hands with a rock.
Calloused up.
Yeah, exactly. Last non-conference game, San Jose State this weekend. What are you guys trying to do? Is there anything you're trying to do, or is it just trying to get better leading into the conference season that starts next weekend?
Yeah, I'd say just improve from last week. Take it one day at a time.
Don't say that. The media people hate that. Don't say one day at a time. Don't say.
That's really what it is.
I know. Did you actually believe that the first time you said it, or was it like that's what I've heard coaches say, so I'm going to say that? But now having been in college football, playing every weekend, okay, it is really true.
Yeah. I'd say so. Yeah, you kind of hear it, and it's like, like you said, nobody likes to hear it, but It's the truth, especially like with your body, game planning, film. It's one day at a time, and all those days add up going into the week. You build your confidence up, and then Saturday it's go time.
When you play an FBS team, I don't care who it is there a sense – maybe with you or maybe some of your teammates is, I was told I wasn't good enough to play at this level. I got something to prove today, or do you push that aside?
I mean, personally, no. I can't speak for other people, but no, I don't really think that.
Yeah.
I just look at it as another game, another chance to go prove myself. So.
Yeah, and football, you play fewer games than any other sport.
Right.
So you really have to cherish every game. How did you, when you start to figure that out, how does that affect your mental preparation when I don't have that many of these to play?
Right. Just taking advantage of every day, every hour of the day, being able to set a plan out where you can sit down, watch film, really look at what the other team's doing in meetings, take advantage of that, ask any questions if you need clarification, and then in practice, I would say in the biggest, just treating every rep like it's a game, so when you get in the game, you're ready and confident.
Football is going to end at some point in time down the road. Who knows when that will be? What are you studying? What do you want to be when? I love this line. What do you want to be when you grow up? I mean,
right now, so my major is business and economics. So, right now, I'm not super sure right now. I'd like to work with my dad a little bit. He owns a new construction plumbing company, so I'll probably jump in with him for a little bit, do that, and get the hang of things, but nothing's really set in stone right now.
When you were 15, starting this football, process in high school, did you think you were going to go to college?
Yeah.
Did you think you were coming to the University of Idaho?
No.
Okay.
I always knew I wanted to find a way how to play. Like, really, if you want to play college football, there's a spot for everybody to go play, whether it's NAIA, JUCO, D3, D2, D1. So I knew I was going to play college football. I just didn't know where, but I'm happy I ended up here.
Yeah, you got a smile on your face when you said that, so that's very important. Art, we appreciate the time. Thanks. Congratulations. Good luck against San Jose State, and we'll see you down the road.
Yep, thank you. Thanks for having me.
The Vandals might need another big game from Art Williams this week, as Eli Cummings will not make the trip. The Vandals starting running back will not play this weekend. A reminder again, the Vandals on the road for the final time in non-conference play. Our coverage will start at 1 o'clock Pacific time, 2 o'clock Mountain for the pregame show, and 1 hour later for the kickoff on your favorite Idaho Vandal radio station. This Idaho Vandal Insider podcast is presented by Inland Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine Clinic of Moscow and Pullman. When he's not caring for the Vandals as team physician, orthopedic surgeon Dr. Matt Taylor provides the same MVP orthopedic care to our entire region. At Inland Orthopedics, our team is your team. Welcome back to the Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast. We are now joined by men's basketball coach Alex Pribble. Thanks for being here. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. How was your summer?
Oh, it's fantastic. Fun time of year. Guys getting better, good energy in the gym. Yeah, I really enjoy this.
You went to a wedding too, huh?
I did, yeah. Coach Jones and his lovely wife Jordan got married. Great time, great event. Yeah, happy for them.
When that happens, when players invite you to that, assistant coaches invite you to that, how does that make you feel as a head coach now to be going to things? Because you're going to be going to them for a long time now.
Yeah, it's special. It's special. I think at the end of the day, that's how you really are going to evaluate success. The impact that you had on young men's lives, the relationships you have with them moving forward. We try to impact them every day that they're here in a Vandal uniform, but, we hope that impact lasts a lifetime. So Coach Jones has given so much to this program. He's been with me for 6 years now. We've been together, working together, building a strong relationship. So, I was honored to be there.
Let's talk about the players more specifically than the assistant coaches. It's more than just, I don't want to say raising a basketball player, but in essence it is. You're trying to raise human beings and good people. And coming up later on this podcast, we're going to hear from Dani Linehan about how great the GPAs have been and those kind of things. And it's one of those things that your team is setting records in GPAs. So it's more about just than what happens on the basketball court.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, from the moment I got this job, I talked about wanting to set a standard of excellence, right? That was the goal, that we weren't just about basketball, weren't just about the wins and losses, but we felt like we would achieve success on the court by also achieving success in other areas of our life. So our young men, they're doing a fantastic job in the classroom. They've set a record in terms of team cumulative GPA, 3 straight semesters, just doing fantastic things, and not in what I would call soft majors either. These guys are excelling in great, challenging academic courses. So they're going to be leaders moving forward in their lives, whether they're leaders in their family or leaders in their community. These are things that we're trying to just try to help establish great habits. And I'm really proud of them, man. These young men take that part of this process seriously.
Where did you learn to do that?
Well, I had great parents. That was part of it. I had fantastic parents. But I think above and beyond that, it was from my coaches. I think I had coaches who helped me understand that, the habits you build on the court, the work ethic you develop, the industriousness, the teamwork, the self-sacrifice, those are qualities that have to show in other aspects of your life as well.
And that's not easy to do, because some people will give that lip service to say, hey, this is what we want to do, and they don't do it. But evidently, I mean, for the evidence that you're doing it on the court, you're doing it in the classroom. I've heard people talk about your guys being in the community and doing those kind of things. It's not just words; it's actions here.
Absolutely. It's kind of 3 legs to the pedestal, so to speak. We have the basketball leg. We want to achieve excellence there. The academic part we talked about, and I'm sure Dani will do a good job explaining that. She's a fantastic academic advisor. But then it is in the community as well. And so, our guys, since the first year, we're actually going to our 3rd year of the CHAMPS mentoring program this year, which stands for College Headed and Making Progress. Actually, something that we picked up from an old coach of mine, Jim Hayford at Eastern Washington. It was the first time we did this. And it's just a way to make an impact in the community. And so we work with local elementary students. We kind of, talk to them about good life skills and study habits, things like that. But it's a great opportunity for our young men to learn how to be leaders and learn how to make a great impact. And so, it's fantastic. And we just, we strongly believe that developing those habits is going to pay off on the court as well. It's how you build long-standing success, not just flash of the pan, you have a good year and you got to restart. So we think we're on the right track here.
There's an exhibition game coming up in October, but really the season doesn't start until November. That's a ways away. What are you doing right now? What's the focus in practice? And then as we transition into next week, starting on Monday, you're back to the regular practice schedule where you can do all of those kind of things you prepare for the season. So what are you guys doing now?
It feels like it's right around the corner. You put it that way, you talk about the timeline. It is a ways before we play Washington State and open up our season, but there's a lot going on right now, and our focus is just to win the day. We have a strong sense of urgency in the program, so every time we step on the court, whether it's for a 30-minute skill workout, an hour practice, anytime we're in the weight room, we want our guys to have an urgency to win that drill, to win that day, to continue to stack great days together. And so we've been doing 4 hours a week on the court, a combination of team workouts and individual skill development, along with 4 hours in the weight room. And the guys have been working really hard. I think we've made great strides this offseason, but I know the guys are really excited for the official start next Monday, where we can, not rush, but just really take our time, make sure that everything within our program is not only installed but kind of cleaned up and worked on at a high level. So, we're excited for the real start here.
You have more guys returning from last year's team than anybody else in the conference. Does that allow you to start at a higher level at the beginning, or are you one of those guys, we're going to go back and build it from the foundation? We're not going to take any shortcuts. We're just going to do what we do.
Yeah, no shortcuts, but I do think we're way farther ahead this year than we've been either of our previous years. It's a combination of, returning 9 players, a few of which have been with us since the start as well. And then the guys that we did bring in, for the most part, are older, experienced, mature, smart players that can pick things up quickly too. So, again, when we talked about building this thing, we talked about retention being a huge part of the process. There's been a lot of really good former Vandals that have played in this building or, played in this program, but it's been hard to keep them. And you could go through the list of names that were very good Vandals, but then transferred away and ended their careers other places. So, it's a challenge, particularly in today's landscape of college athletics, but we're doing everything we can to keep these guys in Vandal uniforms, and that's put us in a really good spot for this year.
You have that exhibition game in Boise on October 17th, and in case you're wondering, as we tape this, it's 31 days, 6 hours, 14 minutes and 52, 51, 50 seconds. I know. I only say that because I know how Alex does everything to the minute, so I know that. So that's why he's laughing. That's a good thing. But being able to play a game, and this is one of 3 trips to Boise. You're playing 2 games over Thanksgiving holiday in Boise in the arena that you'll play the Big Sky tournament in, plus you're playing against Boise State. It is an exhibition game, but you're playing against them. How important is that for you guys to be able to be down there so all those Vandal fans who call the Treasure Valley home can come see you?
Yeah, I think it's a huge deal. From the minute I took this job, I was down there in that area listening to passionate Vandal fans talk about the dynamic between, University of Idaho and Boise State and kind of the history there and learn a lot about the tradition of this program. So being able to play against them again is fantastic. But there's more to it, right? Getting that game going again is great for our community. Playing in Boise in front of our Treasure Valley Vandals is fantastic. But it also gives us an opportunity early in the year to play a top 50 basketball program in the country, really test ourselves and learn, and that's what you want from exhibition games. So great kind of all-around experience for our young men. And we have a lot of Idaho natives on our roster, so they get to play in front of friends and family, and it's just good for everybody involved.
3 starters back from a year ago in Jack Payne, Christian Gonzalez, and Colton Mitchell. You've got other guys returning. We talked about Isaiah Brickner, Ewan Steele, some of the other, Miles Clapper, some of the other guys. Tell us about some of the new faces. I'm gonna go through. So this is kind of your first introduction without saying him or seeing them. One of those guys that goes home. He's a Meridian High School grad, even though he played at Southeastern Louisiana. He's one of your new big guys in Brody Roberry. Yeah,
I'll talk about Brody. Just really quick to backtrack to the returners. One name that was missing from that list is Trayvon Blassingame, who played for us 2 years ago but redshirted last year and has been a huge part of this program from the minute we stepped on campus. So really excited to bring Trey back after his surgery. Really healthy right now. He's a leader for us. He's a captain. He has a humongous impact on this program. So Vandal fans should be excited about his return to the court as well.
I didn't forget him. I was saving him until the end.
I knew you were. I knew you were.
That's because I wanted to talk about his what he was last year. Let's talk about it right now.
Yeah.
Where he was last year and what he was able to do, even though he didn't play a second.
Yeah, if you just step foot in ICCU and watch us practice, he's probably the first guy that you'll see because his energy is contagious. He's one of these guys who's a true leader. In our program we talk about leadership as the ability to make those around you better and more productive, and that's what Trey is. He's a guy that just truly makes the people around him a lot better. With his positivity, with his energy, with his work ethic, very talented basketball player, but also just a team guy through and through. He played in the NCAA tournament his first year at Fairleigh Dickinson, and then he transferred here. So he's got a winning pedigree, and he's just all about the right thing. So we're really excited to get him back on the court. Expecting a big year out of him.
All right. We didn't want to shortchange Brody Roberry, but let's talk about a little bit about him. One of the new guys that'll be inside for you.
Yeah, Brody's fantastic. We sat down and met with Brody a week ago and said, "All right, Brody, how are you feeling about the team? What's your role looking like for this group?" And he said, "I just need to be the rock, right? I need to be Mr. Consistent." And he's exactly right. He is extremely experienced. He's a mature player. He's played a ton of games at the Division I level. And he's just solid. He's an everyday guy. And, very skilled. He can shoot the ball. He can play off the bounce a little bit. He can really pass it. A big presence around the rim, the type of size and physicality that we haven't had the previous 2 years here. So can impact the game in a lot of ways. But more than anything, he's just really consistent. And he's got a tremendous basketball IQ. So a good screener, has great timing, really good instincts on the floor. Expecting a big year out of him.
The other new big guy is Seth Joba, who is a guy from New York, played at Vermont. First of all, tell us about him, and second of all, how in the world do you get a guy from the East Coast to come all the way out here?
Yeah, Seth we're really excited about, man. He's just got incredible potential. There's not many 6'9", truly athletic, three-point shooting bigs in our league. He has all the tools, and he also has a work ethic to match. So we really expect him to get better and better and better throughout his career here. Now, played at Vermont, terrific program. They've won 20 games the last couple of years. They played, was high-level coaching, high-level system. So very experienced player from that standpoint, but doesn't have a lot of miles in terms of actual playing time. So he needs to get out here, get some experience, and learn some good lessons through playing games. But we think he has all the tools to make a big impact in this league. So really excited about Seth. The backstory is that him and Miles Clapper actually played at Bridgeton Academy, which is a prep school back east in Maine. And I've known Miles for a long time, so I was going out to watch Miles play when I was at Seattle University. And the Seth Joba, big 6'9" three-point shooter, really stood out. But, he had about 15 offers out of high school, and we didn't recruit him at that time. But when he was looking for a new place to play, talked to him and wanted a fresh start, I know he's really happy out here at Idaho.
I know one of the guys you're really excited about, the new faces, is a young man who is an Idaho kid from Meridian, Jackson Rasmussen, who Mid-Major Madness said He's the preseason freshman of the year in the conference. Tell us about Jackson.
Yeah, smart guys over there at mid-major. They're
well,
they know
we're going to get to the other thing they did, so don't give that away yet, all right?
Yeah, no, it was great. Jackson, Jackson has really impressed us. We knew he was going to be a important recruit for us. I think he's been probably the priority recruit from the minute we stepped on campus. Saw a lot of his games, followed him around throughout his summer, his spring. Just because he's a great young man, and we want to keep the best players in the state of Idaho in Vandal uniforms, and he was by far and away the best player in the state, and we're excited to have him here. So very versatile player, right? We knew he was a guy who could impact the game in a lot of ways. He's a 20-year-old freshman, so he's got great strength, great physicality, and can impact the game offensively and defensively. Capable three-point shooter, can really attack off the bounce, can post up, but also just instinctually a very good player. His teammates like playing with him. So, yeah, I think he's going to have a big year.
Biko Johnson is a transfer, a one-year guy from Fort Lewis College. He's a guard, 6'2". Tell me about him, because it looked like you were pretty set at guard with all of those guys coming back.
Yeah, Biko's dynamic. I think, we had a really good group of guards last year, and they got better and better throughout the year. The guys you talked about, Colton and Chris Gonzalez and Jack Payne, really led us on a nice run in the conference tournament, but we had to play those guys a lot of minutes. Colton, in that conference tournament, he played 40 minutes at both games, right? He wasn't stepping off the court because we didn't have a tremendous amount of depth. And Biko will take a little of that load off Colton's shoulders. Christian can really shoot it and has done a good job getting in the paint. Biko's really dynamic. He can come off ball screens, he can be a passer, or he can be a scorer. He was the second leading scorer in the RMAC conference, which is a very good Division II conference. He's kind of bounced all over the place, but he just brings a lot of energy, a lot of juice, and he's just, again, a dynamic guard that I think will have a lot of pop and a lot of energy, which I do think this backcourt needed.
I've come to a couple of practices already, and the guy that I'm like, who's that guy, was Talon Jenkins. Mm-hmm. Tell me about him.
Yeah, Talon and Will Jensen are two guys we're really excited about. We kind of talk about them as the future. There's a lot of different strategies right now for how you're going to recruit and how you're going to build a team. And, it's just part of the way I think we need to do it here. We need to find young men who were maybe a little bit under-recruited in high school and are really grateful for the opportunity we can provide them and just want development. And that's where Talon is. Talon's a 6'7" freshman who can really shoot the three and is just getting better every day. So he's going to spend a lot of time in the weight room this year, a lot of time just working in practice and continue to get better. And we think by the time next year rolls around, I think he's going to be a major impact player for this group.
Well, and throw Will Jensen in there, who's even bigger at 6'9".
Yeah, same thing. You watch a practice, you watch a skill workout, and you say, who's this 6'9" bouncy kid, hanging off the rim and the skill set he possesses. He's got all the tools, but little light, needs to spend some time in the weight room, continue to gain some weight because his potential is through the roof. And so two guys that have all the tools and just need a year of development, and we think they're going to have great careers here.
All right, we're going to get back to the mid-major madness you called smart guys. I've not seen any other polls yet, but they're coming. They pick you guys to win the Big Sky Conference this year. How do you feel if that is going to be happening a lot?
Yeah, we're fighting to have expectations, right? This is a program that hasn't had a bullseye on its back, hasn't had expectations for a while. And so it's a big part of the process is to get to a point as a program where people not only know that you're going to come in and compete. I think that's where we've been the last 2 years, but now they know they better be on their A game or we're going to win. And I think that's where we want to be. We want to have expectations as a program. Now, preseason polls don't hold any true value. We know it doesn't mean anything in the long run. But to be in that discussion in year 3, that people are talking about us as a potential favorite to win the league is an honor. It's a privilege, and it's something that we should be excited about. And so, it's kind of twofold, right? It's excitement. It's a positive thing for our program, but we also know it doesn't hold any true weight, and we got to get the job done when the ball does actually get tipped in November.
I know you have planned this out for a long time, from the time you got this job and where you wanted to be, when you wanted to be there. Are you where you want to be when you took this job as we head into year 3?
Absolutely. I think there's been a lot of challenges here, and not even about Idaho. There's been challenges about the state of college basketball that has forced us to kind of adjust and adapt our strategy. So, yeah, I came into this job with a blueprint of how we were going to get it done year over year and try to build this into a championship program. And if you would have said, hey, in year 3, you guys return 9 players and are in a position to compete for a championship, I would be very excited about that. So I think even though we took a little bit of a different route to get here, I think this is a good spot for the program to be in. And listen, we plan to return a lot of guys again the next year. We still have a fairly young core. It's not like we're just all seniors this year and it's going to be a one-time thing. We want to have a good year this year, and then we want to keep building on it again the following year. So the idea of building a program with high character, hardworking young men that are going to get better year after year, I still think that that's what we're doing here.
Appreciate the time. Thanks. Continued success. And we'll be talking to you before that conference or before the game at Washington State. Should be a lot of fun this basketball season.
Thank you, Dennis. Go Vandals.
Today's Vandal Insider podcast is presented by Inland Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine Clinic of Moscow and Pullman. As the Vandals team physician, orthopedic surgeon Dr. Matt Taylor cares for elite athletes, weekend warriors, and everyone in between. Let the team that takes care of the Vandals take care of you. Welcome back to the Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast. We are pleased to welcome women's basketball coach Arthur Moreira to our program. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
How was your summer?
Summer was good. It was a little different than this year than the last year. Last year we had pretty much our whole roster here during the summer. And then this year, half of them are either coming back from injuries or playing for their national team. So it was kind of nice to be able to work with a smaller group, do some more skill work than we did last year. We also have more returners. So I didn't feel like we had the same need to just get to playing as quickly as we did a year ago. So it's been nice.
Wow. What a problem to have. People not here because they're playing for their national teams. When somebody tells you that, Coach, I can't be here this summer, I'm playing for my national team, what's your reaction?
Oh, I love it. I mean, I think you should do it. There's, in 2023, I had the opportunity to coach the Brazilian under-19 national team in the World Cup, and it was one of the best feelings ever. That very first game when you hear your national anthem, you're defending your country, there's very few things that can replicate that. So I always tell our players, anytime you get a chance to play for your national team, please go do it. And, and they're practicing, they're playing games. It's not they're just at home, not working on anything basketball-wise.
Well, and against, apologies, higher level of competition than they might get in a summer pickup game.
No doubt, absolutely. So
let's talk a little bit about your basketball team. First of all, it's year 2. Your hair's not on fire this year. You didn't get the job, at the last second. So how is it different in preparing for your second year as opposed to preparing for your first year?
Oh, it's completely different. When I took the job last year, I called a few of my friends that have been head coaches for a while, and they always tell me every year that goes by in your career, you're going to realize how bad of a coach you were the year before. So there's a lot of things that I wish I had done different, that I changed, that you learn as you go, and now I have the chance to do those things. Plus, we have 6 returners. Last year everybody was new. We only had Ashlyn and Sarah that were on the roster the year before, and Ashlyn wasn't playing, so Sarah was really the only returner. So having those group of 6 that played a lot of minutes for us last year really helped when we're trying to teach new stuff they already know. They can help hold their teammates accountable. I feel like we've been a lot more efficient this year in this offseason than we were last year.
What is the goal? Obviously, last year you were just trying to figure out who could play and get them to play together. So with a returning group now that can play, what's the focus and how do you go about putting the pieces now together with people and people that you kind of know and maybe even some you don't really know?
Right. Developing chemistry is always the most important thing and the hardest thing to do. We have a lot of returns, but we still sign a pretty talented class, so our roster looks a little different than last year. I think we're a lot bigger, more athletic, so we can do a few more things that we weren't able to do last year. So we can be a little more aggressive, we can play a little faster, we can do different things defensively. We do have a few returners, and that helps because we have some of the same concepts from last year, but at the same time, we're installing a lot of new things that we can do with this roster that we couldn't do last year.
When you get your point guard back from a year ago, how much better does that make the team with a returning point guard, even if a lot of the new faces are new?
Oh, it makes a huge difference, especially because Hope has been here before. She went through the season last year. I think we surprised a lot of people, and we got to a point in the Big Sky Conference play that we wanted to win a championship. We thought he was a possibility. You went from the team that got picked 8th, or everybody's new, and every game, not that we're surprised that we were winning because we knew how good we were, but I feel like everybody else was, to be expected to win and compete for that championship. So we worked like it during the spring. Those 6 that came back, and Hope being one of our leaders, we worked the whole spring like a team competing for a championship, and then that translated into the summer practices and then definitely into fall.
That's Hope Hassman we're talking about, who was in her first year as a Vandal, and certainly, she was good last year, but I'm guessing with the losses that you had in some of your leadership, you're expecting her to take another step.
Yeah, absolutely. Both on and off the court. She's gotten a lot better basketball-wise. During the spring, we were joking as a staff that she couldn't miss, and then that led into the summer, and that led into the fall. So it's kind of nice that it wasn't just a spring thing. And then off the court, she's taking more of a leadership role, too, now that Olivia's gone, Jennifer's gone. She's one of the oldest returners. So it's been nice to see her step into that role this year.
You have some people that are back that didn't see a lot of playing time for whatever reason, people in front of them. You're not used to the system. Who do you expect to take a step from the people who are returning that didn't play much?
I think our 3 freshmen last year have improved a lot. I think Ella and the 2 Annas, Ana Pinheiro and Ana Beatriz Pasos, they were in their rotation last year. They played every game, but like you said, they maybe were in that 10 to 15 minute a game role. Ana Pinheiro started earning some more minutes later in the season. But all 3 of them made huge leaps this year. I think they're going to have really good years for us.
Tell us about some of the new recruits that you're excited to have and some of the people that you think will be a big part of this basketball team.
Yeah, we're a lot deeper this year, so it's a good problem to have, right? And I think that it allows us to play a little faster too, because my original idea last year was to push up the pace and play a little faster. But once you kind of realize what your rotation is and how many players can play at that high level, we couldn't play as fast in order to keep bodies fresh and people healthy, but I think this year we can. So obviously Deb Dos Santos from San Francisco is a big name. She was an all-conference player in the WCC, first team that averaged 15 and 10. It's not every day you get a first-teamer all-WCC to transfer to the Big Sky, so we're pretty excited about her. Nevaeh Henley came from the SoCon, all-conference player there too. These 2 are coming back from injuries, but they're working very hard every single day to be ready for the start of the season. I'm excited about Kira Gardner from Washington State. I think we're a better fit for her than Washington State was. They run a great program there. They're a lot more structure, I guess, than we are. I like to give our players more freedom, and she thrives in that system. She's a great athlete, great shooter. She was a phenomenal high school player. She's been doing really good for us. Lorena Barbosa, that came from USF. She's healthy for the first time in her career, fully cleared, and she's a combination of size, athleticism, and power that we don't have in the conference. She's 6'4", 6'5", but she runs like a guard. She can shoot threes. She can handle the ball. I mean, she probably really is more of a wing than a post at that size. So it's been really fun to see the new players meshing in. And then our 2 freshmen have impressed me a lot too. Reese has been hurt, but KK and Sophia have done a great job. KK comes from Estonia, Sophia from Sweden. I knew they were good when we recruited them, but they've been really impressive.
How's your Swedish?
My Swedish is not very good. I don't know anything.
You got to come up with a couple of lines, right?
Portuguese, Spanish, and English. That's all I can
Okay,
speak.
well you can expand. You don't have
For
to
sure.
you don't have to work as hard this year. You got more players back. We're still 6 weeks from the first game ish, depending on excuse me. Depending on when you're listening to this. So what is practice like? What are you doing right now?
Yeah, so before this week, we're focusing a lot on our defensive principles, our offensive principles, some skill work, because like I said, half of our team wasn't here during the summer. But now we're all caught up with that. We've been playing a lot more in practice. So I think our goal from now until November 3rd when we open with Washington State is to get as much experience together on the court as possible and playing 5-on-5 different ways. Like I said, we're doing some of the things that are similar to last year, but we're also adding a lot of new things, both on offense and defense. So now it's about gelling and getting used to applying those things in a 5-on-5 setting.
You told me midway through last year that you guys played a lot in the summer because there were so many new faces. It was just play, let's get used to one another. Now that you have returning people and it's not as trying to get everybody to mesh, are you still playing as much early in the season? Is that one of those things you said, I think I might do that next year?
Yeah, I loved doing that last year. We didn't play as much 5-on-5 during the summer this year as last year, but now we are. That's going to be a huge part of our practice. We start official practice next week, and we can go to our 20 hours, so that's going to be a big chunk of every single practice. But it's also fun because with that many returners, we've been learning stuff faster, right? I had to spend, let's say, a month or so teaching basic offense and defense last year while we were playing. Now that got cut off by about 2 weeks because they know and they review it. And once you have a solid group of 6 people that know what they're doing, everybody else catches up faster, because they're not learning together. They're helping teach each other. So I feel like we're progressing at a much faster rate than last year.
If you're picked to win the Big Sky Conference, how are you going to feel about that? Because we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I don't really care about that stuff. Preseason and stuff is nice for the media and the fans, but if we get picked first, second, third, fourth, or last, it doesn't matter. We know our potential. Our goal is to compete for a Big Sky championship, so I don't really care what the poll says. The only thing that matters is how good we think we are.
Yep, but there has to be a small piece of you that after getting picked to finish 8th last year, and you showed them by a third-place finish that, look, now you think we're good. There has to be a little bit of that in there.
Yeah, obviously you get excited that you kind of exceeded expectations, I guess, but we've always had higher expectations for our team. We knew very early during the summer that we had a chance to be good last year, and I don't blame people for picking us 8th. It was first-time head coach, a whole new roster. If I was voting, I would probably pick a team in our situation.
Picked them
the
last,
too.
Picked them 11th, right?
I think we earned a little bit more respect this year, but like I said, that stuff doesn't really matter to me.
What did you learn about yourself as a head coach for the first time last year as a person? Not as a coach, but as Arthur Moreira, the guy.
I learned I'm a lot more patient than I thought I was.
Really?
Yeah. And it's funny because as an assistant, I feel like I've always been pretty calm, but when you're not focused on so many different things, you can be a little more emotional in getting into stuff. And as the season started going on, I started coaching in practice, started coaching in games, I just felt like myself trying to analyze the game as much. And then I didn't have, I guess, time or, I don't know, energy to spend on the other side. I was so focused on getting our girls ready and getting our team ready and kind of thinking the game through that I was a little surprised with that. So
every coach, I'm going to say every coach, 99.9% of the coach has the ability to scream and yell at kids.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you one of those guys, or is it the fact that you found that as the head coach you're more patient, maybe you aren't one of those guys?
Yeah, that's definitely not my style. There's a time and place for it. I feel like you need to. And I think because it's not my style, when I get to that point, it's even more efficient because they're like, okay, there's something going on there if we're getting yelled at this time. But we did a great job as a staff of hiring people that complement each other, So I have people on my staff. Drew's really good at that. He's very intense. He's very energetic, so we kind of balance each other well. I felt like that was probably a huge reason we're successful last year is that I was able to hire the right people and they're all bought in, and we're all so different, but we complement each other well. It's one of the advices I took when I got the job. I was talking to some of my friends, like, what do you think is the most important thing year one? And they said, hire people that are better than you in areas you're not good at. And it might be challenging at first. Some people are scared about it, having somebody in your staff that is better than you at something. But I thought that was a huge reason we were successful. Every single one of these guys, they're better than me in something. So they challenge me every single day.
We know Drew is good at yelling because I did the one game last year and you guys blew out St. Thomas, and he was still yelling at him. So I mean, and that's a great piece of advice that a lot of people are not going to be very comfortable in doing, even though somebody tells you to do it. It's like, I can't do, I don't want to do that. That tells me you're comfortable in your own skin at who you are and what you're trying to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of situations that we meet every single day at 10 a.m. There's a lot of times I bring stuff to the table, and these guys are not afraid to tell me if my idea sucks, and I guess there's some people that could be intimidated by that or not like it, but I feel like it makes me a better coach. Every night when I'm thinking about stuff, what we're going to do the next day, or I'm preparing or planning for the future, I always take extra time thinking about how I'm going to present it to my staff because I know they're going to be ready to dissect it, and I feel like that made me a better coach.
Have you ever had an idea that when you went to bed, this is the first thing I'm going to talk about, and when you woke up in the morning, you thought to yourself, they're going to cut me to ribbons. This is a stupid idea, and just threw it in the trash can?
Oh, that happened at least once a week. For better or worse, I've always found myself to be really creative on the basketball floor. We do a lot of stuff on both ends, offense, defense, and even recruiting that is not your traditional way of doing things. So I have about 100 of those ideas a day, and then throughout the night, I always joke that I haven't been able to sleep very well as I became a head coach because I always have these tons of ideas in my mind. So I got to filter through them to see what I can actually present to the staff the next day. And there's been some ideas too that they didn't like it. I was like, you know what, we're gonna do it anyway.
Right. Okay. There still is that I am the head coach, and if I really believe in this, we're gonna do it anyway.
Some of them work, some don't. Against St. Thomas, the game you mentioned, there was a baseline out of bounds coverage that I really wanted to try against one of the plays that they ran the most, and everybody was a little skeptical at first, but we stuck with it and it worked out pretty well.
Well, there you go. There's vindication or satisfaction in that, knowing that I was right this time. How has recruiting transitioned from you where you were a year ago and now going into to kids' homes and meeting parents and doing those things, or reaching out to transfers to try and get them to come here when they have offers from other areas? How has that worked out for you?
Yeah, it's a lot easier now that we've established a culture and we have a team and our staff has been here. We have returners. There's not a right or wrong way about building a program and recruiting. I've always personally believed that year one is the most important one because it sets the tone for the future. So the reason we went so heavy on the portal last year, my first year, is because I felt like we needed to be as competitive as possible. It was a program that had 3 head coaches in 3 years, a lot of turnover, losing players to the portal. So I felt like if I could show that, okay, it's year one, but we're in the top 3 in the conference, that would help a lot of recruiting. And it did. We won 18 games. We were very, very competitive. People thought at one point in the season that we could compete for a championship, so now we had access to better players than we did before. And it was easy to sell. And when we go into transfer portal year 2, I had all these people that had success. I was like, hey, look at this. We had a lot of transfers that improved, that did well for us. We have a proven track record of having transfers that have success at the University of Idaho. And then he helped with the freshmen as well, because now you're selling the recruits that come to play for a championship, a program that is not really rebuilding. And at the same time, we did sign a lot of transfers, but we only lost 1 player to the portal last year. I think we're one of 5 schools on the West Coast that didn't lose a single rotation player to the transfer portal. We played 9 players consistently. 3 graduated and have eligibility left, and everybody else came back. So now when you're presenting that to high school players, they're like, okay, that's a place people go and they want to stay.
Certainly also helps when you win games. You win 18 games, some doors open that weren't going to open if you only won 8 in your first year.
No doubt.
The season opener, Monday, November 3rd at Washington State. Couple road games to start the season. Then the first home game is Sunday, November 9th against Walla Walla. Arthur Moreira, the head coach of the Vandals women's team in his second season with the basketball program. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. We'll visit with you right before the season begins.
Thank you, Dani. Sounds good.
This Vandal Insider podcast is presented by Inland Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine Clinic of Moscow and Pullman. When he's not caring for the Vandals as team physician, orthopedic surgeon Dr. Matt Taylor provides the same MVP orthopedic care to our entire region. At Inland Orthopedics, our team is your team. Welcome back to the Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast. It's a pleasure to welcome Dani Linehan with us, who is the Associate Athletic Director of Student Athlete Support Services. Thanks for being here. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Okay, what in the world is Student Athlete Support Services mean?
It's a great question. There are lots of different facets for my job. I'd say the main one is I oversee a full-time staff of 3, and then I have 4 interns and GAs, and then we have a tutoring staff of like 8 to 16, just depending on the semester. So I oversee all that, make sure everyone's doing their job. I specifically oversee football and swim and dive. So in that role, I'm tracking their NCAA eligibility. There's percentages, metrics, degree applicable credits that you have to take every semester, meet at the end of every year. So I'm tracking all that for the teams, making sure they're on track to graduate while keeping that on the same track with exhausting their eligibility. And the day-to-day stuff, I'm meeting with students. Again, I'm meeting with football players, making sure they're going to class, doing all their classwork, meeting with swimmers. I'm on various Big Sky committees, so I meet with the Big Sky Conference on various things. I'm on senior staff, so I meet with senior staff on various things. But really my main job is to make sure everyone's staying eligible.
Okay, that what your description, and I know that's the tip of the iceberg because you kind of condensed it for us. We could go on for a half an hour. Yep. That doesn't sound like your title.
So I mean, kind of. It's student athlete support. So, I mean, they come in with I was asked just the other day how to fill out a check. Like they come and ask us all kinds of things. How to fill out a check. Dani, where is this one building? They'll come in and talk to me about their family. Actually, right before you came in here, I just had a student open up to me about his entire family lineage, stepmom, stepdad, just all these, not issues, but just things that are on his mind. And we're all different resources for these kids, which is really, I love it. I love it.
So I got to believe then at some point in times you're somebody who kicks them in the butt, but at the same time you're somebody who might give them a hug.
Yes, that's actually very spot on. And you could have back-to-back meetings of kicking someone's butt, and then the next one comes in, you got to give them a hug.
It's more than just A, making sure you're going to class, B, those grades aren't good enough, and C, you have enough credits to stay eligible. It's way more than that, isn't it?
Yes, because you have to understand the why. Like, okay, I have a student come into my office. He's failing everything or not turning things in, he or she. Now, okay, yes, you're on the road to being ineligible. You aren't passing your classes. Coach is going to be pissed. I'm pissed. But why are you letting this happen? Like, what is going on externally or even internally? Why is this an issue? Are you having issues with time management? Is there stuff going on at home that we need to be aware of that we can give you resources to help you with? Do you need to be up here in the academic center more? Like, how can we help you? Because there's always a why as to why someone's doing poorly.
How did you fall into this job? I mean, this line of work. It's not just this job, it's the field that you're in.
Yeah. So when I was a student athlete at Colorado State, I was a swimmer, and I thought I could be an engineer. So I was in physics, calculus. I wanted to be an environmental engineer, so I was in environmental engineering classes and was failing all of them. Could not pass a thing. And my athletic academic advisor helped me get on a different track of, okay, you want to do environmental stuff. Let's look at a sociology route. Let's do environmental sociology or environmental science. Like, engineering's just not your thing. So I was borderline ineligible, like 0.01 GPA calculation away from being ineligible and not able to swim. That's how low my GPA was. And she helped me get on the right track. And again, I was environmental my whole way through college. And then she got me set up with the University of Memphis because that's where she did her graduate assistantship in this field, in sports and in student athlete sport services. And I was like, I'll go get a master's paid for. Why not? So I switched my whole outlook my senior year to sports and helping people like myself who struggled so much academically as well as in my sport, trying to balance both, figure out what the heck I wanted to do with my life. And she set me up. So then I got the assistantship. I did 2.5 years-ish at the University of Memphis, got my master's in sports management while working with their men's basketball and football team. And I was the academic mentor side, so I was really the day-to-day meeting with them for an hour to 2 hours every single day, going through all their homework. If they needed help with any paper, study skills, I was the one reporting to my bosses, which now I'm in that role as the boss, which is really full circle, which I love. But yeah, that's how I got into it.
So
terrible.
I was gonna I was gonna ask you before you told that story how being a student athlete helped you in this job, but it's even more so you were a student athlete who was struggling to stay eligible. How has that made you better when somebody sits across the desk, which is where we're sitting in your office right now, having those same problems?
Yeah. So for me, I was lucky enough. I didn't have anything going on at home. I had a great family life. I was doing as well as I could in swimming. I loved my coach. I loved the sport. I loved the team. I just couldn't get the ball rolling in school. And I had always been a good student. I was good in high school. But I think my goals outweighed what I could actually do and what I was, not that I wasn't capable of becoming what I thought I wanted to be was an engineer, but it was not in the cards for me. It just wasn't my field. I don't think I found it interesting enough to apply myself to do physics and calculus and all these classes and swim at the same time. I wanted the lifestyle of being a student athlete. I wanted to travel to all the swim meets and not have to worry about 8 hours of studying on the road and all that stuff. So for me, when a student comes in and they're struggling in their classes that they have their major declared in, that's where I have the conversation of like, okay, you may want to be this, but in all reality, your work ethic or your goals right now are not aligning with what you're showing me. You say you want to be an accountant, but you're failing accounting and you're not studying it. So you clearly don't find it interesting enough to do. So I say a little bit nicer than that. But unless it's like the fourth time I'm having the conversation,
right,
then I kind of lay into them. But it's finding and aligning what they are capable of and what they want to do. And a lot of the times it works. I mean, I've switched. I can't even tell you how many majors I've switched from drastic side, like one extreme to the other. Like we have engineers come in all the time. They'll graduate in business, or they're going to graduate in our sport management degree, or communication, sociology, like anything like that. You know, I have a STEM major. They graduate in a writing major. It's all over the place.
One of the big reasons I got you on here is to talk about what's going on here in the athletic department, where not just in the smart kid sports, you know, golf, tennis, cross country, which typically have high GPAs. There's high GPAs, record-breaking high GPAs across the board, every sport, every sport. Why do you think that is? What is going on here at the University of Idaho that you guys are setting records almost every semester?
Yeah, so I have to give credit to our coaches. They recruit good students as well as student athletes. So because they don't want to deal with me in their office every day, or Stacy, or like whoever is overseeing their sport and being like, he's not doing this, they're not doing this, didn't turn this in, is late to class, late to my meeting, blah, blah, blah. They don't want to deal with that. So they recruit good students first. And then I do have a great staff. They work so well with students. Stacy was a former student athlete herself. And she started as my GA. And I was like, we need to hire her. She's great for the job. Again, former student athletes understand how to understand student athletes and approach them. But one thing that I learned at the University of Memphis was the value and importance of objective-based study hall. So when I first got here, and I'm going to speak on football just because that's who I've started with from start to now. One thing about, or when I first got here, was they had study hall hours. So they have their class schedule, their practice schedule, and then we told them you need to get 5 hours of study hall logged every week in the study center. Well, when you give 18 to 22-year-olds more unstructured time, they don't know what to do with it because they're not disciplined enough yet. Time management skills are not quite there. We have not developed those. And a lot of things is like high school, you're in school from 7:30 to 2:30 or 8 to 3 or whatever the hours are. You go from 8 to 3, then you have practice, then you go home and do your homework. Your days are very identical. For college, you may have one class Monday, Wednesday, Friday, all this open space, and then you have your practice in the afternoon. And then in the off season, you've got all day. You just have class and then maybe some weights, or for football, you got spring ball, but that doesn't start till after spring break. And you're only practicing 2 days a week. So you have all this open time that you don't know what to do with. And we were just telling these guys, yeah, come in and get 5 hours a week of study hall. Well, it turned into some guys had light weeks, so they didn't have 5 hours of work to do, which is honestly kind of common. So we'd still say, well, you have to get it done. And it's like, okay, well, what am I going to work on, Dani? I said, I don't know. Just, you have to get it done. You have to get your 5 hours. So it turned into kind of a social hour. It turned into them signing in and leaving and then coming back, signing out. They didn't do anything for their hours. Or they'd go in there for 5 hours, but they wouldn't know how to get anything done. They wouldn't know what to work on. They wouldn't know, okay, I have this 10-page paper due on Sunday, but I'm going to work on all these little quizzes instead to get my 5 hours in. So they have all the little assignments done, and then they get to Sunday after an away game, and they have 10 pages to write. And it wasn't working. And you'll be proud of me. I did my homework. So fall of 21, when we were doing study hall hours, we had a 2.76 GPA for football. For spring of 22, we still had study hall hours. We did a 3.04. Pretty good. Fall 22, study hall hours, 2.94. Okay. So before I tell you the rest of the GPAs, I'm going to tell you what we switched to. So we switched to objective-based. So I hired interns and graduate assistants. They had a caseload of guys that we assigned them, all freshmen, all transfers, and then returners who were below a 3.0. They all had an academic mentor assigned to them. They had structured hours where this academic mentor was saying, here's what you need to work on for this hour. Here's what you need to do tonight. And then they'd come back the next day or the next time they had study hall, and it would be done. If it wasn't done, it would get reported to coach. Coach would handle it. So there were checks and balances in place. The guys learned how to structure their time. And if they did have a light week, they got all their homework done through Sunday, they didn't have to come back. They were excused. They didn't have to come back on the Friday for study hall. So it was incentive-based too. Guys were getting their work done. Once we switched to that, the spring 23 GPA, 3.3.
Now that's almost a half a grade.
Oh yeah.
Jump for everybody.
Yes. Yes.
And you got smart guys at the top of the scale who can't jump half a grade.
Right.
So you've got guys in there jumping a whole grade, a grade and a half, maybe 2 grades.
Yep. And then we honestly just we fluctuated here and there. Fall 23, your fall is always going to be, you're in season. So your GPA is going to be a little bit lower. 3.13. Spring 24, 3.31. Fall 24, surprisingly, in season, our highest GPA ever, 3.32. And what I've learned is you don't have to track the really, really, really smart students. Because sometimes I think that's lost with coaches. And I understand that they want to know where their students stand in classes. Totally get that. They need to know. The U of I luckily has lots of things in place where we can have, I get early warning grades for people that I don't track. So anyone on the team who has a D or an F is flagged, and I know about it, even when we aren't tracking them. We got midterm grades that we see, that's a full roster, and then obviously final grades. But when you give students the autonomy to just do their schoolwork and you're not breathing down their neck or micromanaging them when they're good students, they actually do better. And I've seen that. We have gone from tracking all teams or tracking everyone on a team to kind of backing off and making it a department policy. Okay, if you're below a 3.0, that's who we're tracking. And then we have the power, I guess, or decision power to say, yeah, you're above a 3.0, but it took you a lot to get there, so we're still going to track you. We make those decisions, and our GPAs just keep going up because we're giving students the autonomy to just do their own thing and do their schoolwork. And obviously, if there's an issue, they're going to come to us because we've built that trusting relationship. So,
I mean, my wife was in education for more than 30 years,
yeah.
and square peg round hole doesn't work.
No.
And you figured out either how to make the hole round or the peg square. So how are you not a teacher or a principal?
Well, I don't know if I could be a teacher. I like sports too much. I think that's the thing. Like, yes, this is kind of in an education field, but I wouldn't want to do this if it wasn't sports related. I don't want to do this in a elementary school or high school or even just on campus, kind of a career job. I want to be with athletes and coaches and the fast-paced culture, and I love it.
What's the overall GPA for the athletic department right now?
So our record, which was
It doesn't have to be exact. Ballpark.
Yeah. Well, our record for fall 24 was 3.52. That's the highest we've ever gotten.
Okay, that's a 3.5. That's an A minus.
Yeah.
Average.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously there is still room to go.
Sure.
But you're never going to get every athlete with a 4.0.
No.
Well, maybe, I don't know you well enough. Maybe that's the ultimate carrot out
Yep.
there. But at 3.5, how can you get better?
Well, and that's the thing. And Terry highlights this, and she does a good job of it.
Terry Golick, the athletic director.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. She highlights this, and she does a really good job of it. But there is going to come a time where we're going to stop breaking records. Like, we can only go so high. And we didn't break a record last semester. We got a 3.49, which is just what our other one was.
Fire everybody. Throw
I know.
everything out the window.
We're garbage. Start over. But I mean, there is going to come a point where we're just going to stop breaking. I mean, you can only get so high, especially in school. Like, you're right. We're not going to get everybody to 4.0. It's just not going to work. But I don't know. We're just going to keep this rolling. I need more staff to switch everyone to objective based. That would be the goal. Right now we have football and men's basketball in objective based because they were the ones that needed it the most. Everyone else's GPAs and student athletes didn't need that kind of structure. The ones that do, we put them in, or they meet with our learning specialist, Sarah, or obviously, I mean, I still have weekly meetings with guys, and Stacy does, Nick does, our new senior academic coordinator. So we're still meeting with all these people, but, we just need more. We need more resources.
And that's part of my next question is the NIL world that we all now live in, the transfer portal window affects everybody, affects coaches, affects teams, how has that affected you, A, in trying to make sure guys are eligible or stay eligible, and B, how do you make sure guys continue to graduate when they're at 3 different schools in 3 years? How hard has that become for you guys?
Extremely hard, if I could just be blunt and honest. It's been a really huge lift, but it's also difficult because what it's turned into is it's not student focused. It's not degree focused anymore. We could have student athletes who have 1 season of eligibility left, but because they've transferred so many times, and 3 schools, honestly, is the minimum of what I see. I've seen 6 different schools. I've seen 7.
Wow.
We are sometimes we're stop number 8. I don't think we've been 8 yet, but we've definitely been 7. We've definitely been stop number 7 for some guys. But that's the norm everywhere. That's not just here. That's all over.
No, and I'm asking you this as a person who sits in your chair campus-wide, not just this campus, every campus. That's the one question I've always had is I look at a guy when I'm preparing to do a broadcast, and he went to a 4-year school, then a junior college, then a 4-year school, and now he's here.
Yeah.
That's 4 schools. I don't know how that player is eligible because you still have to be eligible to be able to play.
Yes. And that's where we have to kind of get creative with, okay, well, I can't get you graduated in this degree because not a lot of these credits transferred over. They don't count here as the U of I as they did at your previous school, whatever. So we're switching degrees. Because we want to ultimately get them a degree. And that also helps our numbers and it helps the student. So for me, I hate the idea or option of, well, he or she's just here for a season, but okay, they're here for a season, but they need 2 to graduate. They need 2 to get a degree with how many credits they need left. And sometimes it's not an option. And it's like that everywhere right now, but we're working through it. We're trying to get everyone a degree. That's the goal.
And that's, I'm an old school guy.
Yeah.
That's the right thing.
Yes.
Because whatever sport you play, unless it's golf, you might be able to play it in your 60s, but you're sure not going to play football in your 60s or you're not going to be a cross-country runner. The ultimate thing is to go to college. It still is to get the degree.
Yes.
And that sounds like it's better here than it used to be.
Yes. Yeah. I do still think that we have a very heavy academic focus here. And we can credit that to Terry as well. She always says in this big landscape of NIL and all these transfers coming in, we are still the school that's going to get them the degree. That's who we are. That's what we do. And we're trying not to lose sight of that. So.
Dani, we appreciate the time. Thanks. It's a fascinating conversation.
Yeah.
Because you're juggling so many balls with so many sports and you're dealing with so many different kids. Your heart must be the size of the Kibbe Dome. Yeah, it has to be. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for explaining it.
No problem.
We appreciate you coming on the Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Loved it.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast. Thanks to all of our guests who joined us this week. Don't forget to join us each Tuesday night for more Vandals talk from the Idaho Vandal Coaches Show. That's live from 42 Bar Kitchen in Moscow at 7 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Mountain Time on the Idaho Vandal Radio Network. I'm Dennis Patchin saying thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time for another edition of the Idaho Vandal Insider Podcast.
This has been the Vandal Insider Podcast, presented by Inland Orthopedic Surgery and Sports Medicine Clinic of Moscow and Pullman. Let the team that takes care of the Vandals take care of you. Get the latest information on University of Idaho athletics you won't find anywhere else with the Vandal Insider Podcast. From in-depth conversations to game previews, the Vandal Insider is every fan's source for all things Idaho athletics.